The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves. That observation, made over 500 years ago by Niccolò Machiavelli, is not just about ancient kings. It's a blueprint for understanding a quiet, pervasive game that shapes modern life. This is a game of perception, strategy, and power, played not in royal courts, but in our social interactions, our workplaces, and the quiet negotiations of our daily lives. The most unsettling part? Most people playing don't even know the rules exist. They feel its effects, the confusion, the frustration, the sense of being perpetually one step behind, but they can't name the system. Today, we pull back the curtain. This doesn't apply to all women or all men, and it's not a moral judgment. It's a pattern created and amplified by modern social systems. We are here for clarity, not conflict. For systemic insight, not blame. Once you see the game, power loses its grip. We begin with a quiet truth, one that many sense but few articulate. It's the feeling that social success, particularly in the realms of dating, status, and professional advancement, often follows a hidden logic. On the surface, the narrative is about authenticity, connection, and mutual respect. But underneath, there's a palpable, often unspoken, undercurrent of strategy. Many people feel this. They see outcomes that don't match the stated intentions. They witness rewards that seem disconnected from genuine value. They feel trapped in a dynamic where appearing a certain way, confident, indifferent, in demand, often yields better results than transparent vulnerability. This disconnect creates a low-grade psychological dissonance. As Machiavelli observed, everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. The system, especially as amplified by social media and digital interaction, incentivizes the cultivation of appearance. It rewards the performance of value more swiftly, at times, than the slow, hard work of building it. This isn't about good or bad people. It's about a system where the metrics for success, likes, matches, attention, social leverage, are easily gamed by perception. When you sense this gap, you are not imagining things. You are sensing the rules of a very old game, operating on a new, digital battlefield. The public narrative, the one we're all supposed to believe, is straightforward. It tells us that relationships are built solely on emotional connection and shared values. It says professional success is a pure meritocracy. It preaches that the right person will come along when you just be yourself, and that good deeds are their own reward. This is the world of should. It's a moral and ethical framework we publicly endorse, and in an ideal, perfectly balanced system, it would be perfectly true. This narrative is comforting. It provides a clear, rule-based map for social navigation. Be kind, work hard, be genuine, and you will be rewarded with love, respect, and success. The problem, as Machiavelli pointed out with stark realism, is the gap between idealism and reality. He wrote, "How we live is so different from how we ought to live that he who studies what ought to be done rather than what is done will learn the way to his downfall rather than to his preservation." The visible narrative teaches us what ought to be done, but it leaves us utterly unprepared for the complex, often amoral landscape of what is done, the actual behavior and incentives that drive human interaction in a competitive, attention-scarce environment. Clinging only to the should narrative without understanding the is what leaves people feeling betrayed, confused, and powerless when outcomes diverge from the fairy tale. What the comfortable narrative ignores is the fundamental reality. Social dynamics, especially in their early stages, often operate as a form of psychological marketplace. This is the blind spot. In any marketplace, there is valuation, exchange, negotiation, and perceived scarcity. We are all, to some degree, assessing and being assessed, not as cold, calculating machines, but as human beings making constant, often subconscious, judgments about value, security, and opportunity. Machiavelli's entire philosophy was built on this clear-eyed assessment of human nature and incentives. He advised rulers to base their power on what is under his own control, not on what is under the control of others. In the social sphere, this translates to a difficult truth. Your happiness and stability cannot be outsourced to the validation or choices of another person. The system, however, constantly tempts us to seek our value externally. The blind spot is our reluctance to admit that things like attention, commitment, and social capital are negotiated, often with unequal leverage. This isn't about reducing love to transaction, it's about recognizing that before deep connection forms, there are layers of psychological negotiation influenced by perceived status, confidence, independence, and options, what Machiavelli might have called one's own arms. Ignoring this market dynamic doesn't make you noble, it often makes you an easy target for those who instinctively understand and play by its rules. To understand the game, we need Machiavelli's core psychological mechanism, the timeless struggle between vert and fortuna. Fortuna is chance, luck, the randomness of life, the swipe right, the chance meeting, being born into a certain social context. Vert is not moral virtue, it is efficacy, ingenuity, foresight, and the strength to shape events. It is the strength to do bold things, not the strength to suffer. In the modern social game, many people mortgage their agency to fortuna. They wait to be chosen. They hope luck will deliver the right person or opportunity. They outsource their mood to the inbox or the dating app feed. This is a losing strategy because, as Machiavelli described, fortune is the arbiter of half of actions. But she still leaves the other half, or close to it, to be governed by us. The game is won by those who cultivate vert. In practical terms, this means building a life so intrinsically strong, independent, and engaging that you are not a passive petitioner in the marketplace, but an active participant with something genuine to offer. It's about good arms and good laws, developing inner strength, confidence, purpose, skills, and strong boundaries, respect, clear standards. The system's dopamine-driven feedback loops, the likes, the fleeting matches, are designed to keep you chasing fortuna in a perpetual state of hope and reactivity. Vert is the act of turning away from that slot machine and toward the hard, controlled work of self-mastery. It is recognizing that a wise ruler should rely on what is under his own control. Your mission, your health, your integrity, your growth, these are your controlled territory. The opinions and choices of others are not. What happens when you play the game without knowing the rules? Or when you rely entirely on the fickleness of fortuna? You become what Machiavelli would call unarmed. In his view, there is nothing so weak and unstable as a reputation for power that is not backed up by its own army. Translating this to psychology, there is nothing so unstable as a sense of self-worth that is not backed up by genuine, self-derived accomplishment and character. The long-term consequence is a specific kind of misery, the misery of confusion and powerlessness. If you believe the should narrative, but keep experiencing the is outcomes, you will blame yourself, I'm not good enough, or become bitter, all men/women are terrible. This is the trap. Machiavelli warned that love is preserved by the link of obligation which, owing to the baseness of men, is broken at every opportunity for their advantage. But fear preserves you by a dread of punishment, which never fails. While we are not advocating for fear, the psychological insight is critical. Bonds based purely on the hope of kindness or the pleasure of validation are fragile. Bonds that include respect for a person's boundaries, self-respect, and inner strength have a more durable foundation. The system, particularly online, offers endless shortcuts to the appearance of being armed, curated photos, witty bios, the performance of success. But these are mercenary arms, and as Machiavelli ruthlessly noted, in peacetime, they plunder you, and in wartime, they let the enemy plunder you. When a real challenge comes, rejection, competition, the need for depth, the mercenary appearance deserts you, and you are left defenseless. This is the inevitable payoff for a strategy built on illusion rather than vert. This is where we see the system's true, unintended cruelty. it creates a trap for both sides. It's not a simple predator-prey dynamic. It's a distorted feedback loop that corrupts authentic seeking. On one side, you have those who, often unconsciously, learn to weaponize perception and scarcity. They may enjoy short-term advantages, attention, leverage, the upper hand, but they fall into the trap of believing their own press. They start to conflate the curated image with reality. They become like the prince who relies on mercenaries, losing touch with their own authentic strength and capacity for real connection. Their relationships become transactional and unstable because they are built on sand. Whosoever desires constant success must change his conduct with the times, Machiavelli advised. But a strategy of perpetual gaming is exhausting and leaves one isolated at the core. On the other side are those who, armed only with the should narrative, enter the marketplace disarmed. They offer genuine vulnerability without the protective layer of self-defined boundary and purpose. In Machiavelli's harsh terms, they are easily deceived because he who seeks to deceive will always find someone who will allow himself to be deceived. This repeated experience leads to resentment, withdrawal, or a cynical adoption of the very game playing they despised. Thus, the system cycles. The disillusioned become the players become the empty, and everyone wonders why finding something real feels so impossible. The trap is that both sides are chasing an illusion. One side the illusion of control through manipulation, the other the illusion of safety through passivity. Both are avoiding the difficult, personal work of Vert. The way out is not to become a better, more manipulative player of the game. It is to see the game so clearly that you choose to stop playing on its terms altogether. This is sovereignty. Machiavelli's ultimate lesson is not about ruthless conquest, but about the foundational security required to be effective, and perhaps even good. The goal is to build your own principality so secure that you are not constantly threatened by external storms. Psychologically, this means achieving a state where your value is self-determined and non-negotiable. For men, the way out often means rejecting the dual traps of passive resentment and performative dominance. It means channeling energy away from blaming the system and into the concrete, hard work of building Vert, physical health, intellectual mastery, emotional resilience, and a purpose that transcends validation. It means understanding that, as Machiavelli put it, all courses of action are risky. So prudence is not in avoiding danger, it's impossible, but calculating risk and acting decisively. The risk of vulnerability is real. The risk of rejection is real. But the greater risk is a life of passive suffering, waiting for fortuna to smile on you. Develop the strength to do bold things, to approach, to build, to commit, to stand on principle, not just the strength to endure loneliness or frustration. For women, the way out often means cultivating awareness of the immense psychological power they often hold in early-stage dynamics, and wielding that power with wisdom rather than as a reflex. It means looking past the performance of Vert, the flashy job, the smooth talk to discern the real thing. Integrity, discipline, quiet confidence. It means internalizing value so deeply that you are not captivated by those who offer only the appearance of strength, nor are you dismissive of those who possess the real thing but lack polished packaging. It is about balancing the desire for love with the wisdom that, in the long run, respect is the bedrock upon which love is sustainably built. For everyone, the path is toward integration. The fox's awareness, the ability to see the traps, the games, the illusions, and the lion's strength, the courage to live by your own code, to defend your boundaries, and to act from genuine power, not the imitation of it. When you do this, a profound shift occurs. The games lose their power over you because you are no longer a desperate participant in that marketplace. You have your own sovereign territory. Your interactions become clearer, less fraught with hidden agendas. You attract others who are on a similar path. You see the game, and in that seeing, you are free. The goal is not to win the game as it is played, but to change the game by changing yourself, to build something real in a world of illusions. That is the ultimate application of an ancient unsentimental wisdom to the most personal challenges of modern life.